Welcome to the Moon Baby Magic Podcast, a space for women and women's stories. For the woman just beginning to believe she can actually heal her painful period naturally. For the one in a full-on love affair with aligning her entire life with her cycle. And for every woman in between. This is a platform to remember the wisdom that lives in our wombs so that we may actualize the lives of our dreams. I'm your host, Natalie Elliott, women's health practitioner specializing in traditional Chinese medicine-based hormonal healing. Ready for slow and sacred storytelling and to learn a little something? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the Moon Baby Magic Podcast. It's Natalie. I'm here with you on August 5th, 2026. I'm on day 15 of my cycle. So I'm feeling my full ovulatory energy and feeling honestly really good. And just encouraging you to check in with where you're at in your cycle, how you're feeling, because you get to be a different woman every single week. And we also move through these shifts in our larger life cycle. And so we're going to get into that with Lyssandra today, getting into the shift into perimenopause, which she describes as this kind of extended luteal phase, and why that doesn't actually have to be a bad thing, but why we can acknowledge and hold more dearly and also more collectively both the challenging aspects and the beautiful aspects of this midlife transition. Before we get into that, speaking of transitions, I just have to share, I'm just absolutely so lit up right now that there are so many pregnancies circling around me, both in my friends. I just got back from a trip to LA where I interviewed Lyssandra in person. So you'll get to see us sitting on the couch together in Hollywood. But I'm back home now up in Northern California. I was down in LA for 2 friends' baby showers. I got to help another friend prep her postpartum freezer. That was Madeline. You can hear her story on a different episode of the podcast. And then I got a call from another friend while I was driving to announce her pregnancy to me. And I got 2 new clients, or not new clients, they've been with me for a while, one for about 6 months and another for just over a year, both announcing their pregnancies to me after long, challenging conception journeys. And I just share this to bring hope and sort of infuse some life into this space. It's definitely it's summer. It's the fullness of our full bloom, and I just want to remind you that if you've been trying for something for a long time, whether it's a pregnancy or otherwise, that it might be more available to you and it might come sooner than you might imagine. So just holding that near and dear. And if you are looking for support along your journey, you can apply or rather just book a discovery call to see if you might want to work one-on-one with me. At the time of this recording, I have 2 spots open. That obviously could be different depending on when you listen, but I'm still would love to have a chat with you. Okay, let's jump into it with Lyssandra's episode. So nobody really talks about what it feels like to be in your early 40s and not quite know who you're becoming. And so in this episode, I sit down with Lyssandra in person. She's a nutritionist, an herbalist, and a women's health educator in Los Angeles, who's 41 and right in the thick of her early perimenopause. We talk about her first bleed, which is such a funny story, losing her period for a full year in her late 20s from stress and being in the wrong relationships, getting hot flashes and kind of what she felt about that, and the brain blips, as she calls them, that have been showing up lately that nobody warned her about. We also get into why perimenopause is basically just an extended luteal phase of life, the full moon gathering she's hosting in LA for women 40 and over. And I also share a quote that I'll share with you right now that I think encompasses this whole conversation and really this whole podcast, which is, at menarche, first period, a girl meets her power. Throughout all her cycling years, she practices it. And at menopause, she becomes her power. So let's hear about Lyssandra learning to become her power. Recording. Yay! Welcome, Lyssandra. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and in person.
I know. It's so cute to have an in-person interview.
It almost feels like we're just giggling and just let's just have a sleepover.
A girl chat on the couch with coffee.
Yeah.
No, I actually love that. The last time I did an in-person interview was with my friend Desiree, who was on the podcast 2 months ago or something, and it was at my house, and it was the same thing. We were like on the couch with our little teas and just chatting. It was so cute.
Yeah. So necessary to be in person.
I know. We were just talking about that before we hit record, that you feel like you're shifting a lot more to in-person work than doing things virtually, which I feel like actually is a big thing happening in the collective right now.
Yeah. I mean, well, especially like post-COVID, I mean, I think our nervous systems are still like recovering from so much digital life.
Because in COVID, we all went online for everything.
Yeah, and so much pivot. Yeah. Like, you know? I mean, even podcasting is relatively new.
It is.
But... Yeah, so in person just feels, it's just like the energy, you know?
Yeah.
It feels a lot more natural. I feel like everyone's like, you can boost each other. Just the energy is just elevates everything much more than like digitally, where I'm like, is she just listening to me or what's happening? You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true, because you never know what's going on with someone digitally when you're doing that.
Yeah, you can't quite catch the vibes as much.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. Well, it's so sweet to have you here. And as I was saying before we hit record, I love to ask women, firstly, where they're at in their cycle when we come on the show, because I think that's like really beautiful information for us to have, is just like awareness of the energy of the conversation and also the phase of life. So I'll share with you that I'm on day 8 of my cycle. So I'm in my full follicular vibes right now, which feels great. I'm in, we're in Los Angeles for people listening, and I don't live here. And so my bleed here was just like really interesting to be like not in my own space, and like this is a man's house instead of being like a man's apartment while I'm bleeding, and like be like, what's going on? But day 8 is actually my favorite day of the cycle. I don't know why. I've just tracked that every month I feel like my best on that day.
Yeah.
So we're in the perfect time for me to be chatting with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear where you're at in your cycle as well.
Yeah, and I so resonate with that.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, it's like when you're in your winter and you're in your bleed, you're like, you allow yourself to be like, I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah.
And this feels really good, and I'm just going to cozy into my winter.
Yeah.
And as you like kind of climb out of your cave, it takes a few days. You're not like just like, okay, my period is done, I'm out of my winter, I'm into my spring.
Yeah, there's the transition.
There's a transition.
Yeah.
So when you hit that like 8th day, you're kind of like, I've sprouted.
Yeah, you're in it.
I'm ready to plant the seeds.
Yeah, totally.
Or like spread them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So resonate with that.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
I'm day 4 of my ovulation.
Okay, cool.
So this was perfect timing. I remember when we were planning this, we were like, well, where are we going to be in our cycle? And I was like, the 29th, I'm going to be on my ovulation. And you're like, I'm going to be there.
Perfect.
And I was just like, oh, thank God, because my luteal phases have been a little bit harder with brain health.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I've had like more brain blips during that time, so I'm so happy that I'm in my ovulation phase, and I'm just like, hey, what's up, everybody? So that feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like feeling more energized, or just like more clear-headed.
Yeah.
And like
I do feel that.
Yeah.
It's the sharpness.
Yeah, the sharpness, and just feeling. I mean, it's summer here in LA, so it's like every day feels like you want to wear less clothes and feel sexy. So that's good.
So fun.
Yeah.
It's like it's totally a different vibe in that way from Northern California. There's that energy of like just a lot more like playfulness and flirtiness and like the beach vibe. I think the beach being nearby makes it feel just like super summery.
Yeah, there's something about just being like, what do I have to wear? Oh, this thing? Sure.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's so much confidence in wearing it, especially during your ovulation. Where you're just kind of like, I don't have to worry about my bleed for some time.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, I have like 1 day left, so I'm going to really revel in it.
Revel in it today. We're both going to be living it up today. Me on day 8 and you 4 days post-ovulation.
Totally. Yeah. And what phase I'm in life? I'm in my early perimenopausal transition. So I'm 41. I'll be 42 this year. And I'm in a phase that just feels like I'm becoming. And what that is unsure, but there is also this feeling of like, it's like the perfect time for me, like I'm starting to think more about like what I want, how I want to be when I'm like 46 or 48 or 50 years old. Like what has been really interesting, and I don't want to bring in like comparison at all, but like, you know, it's like you look through social media and like sometimes it's like, oh, these young people, and it's easy to compare yourself to young people, right? But now I'm noticing that like on my feed there's a lot more like older women, and I'm like, oh wow, like look at her style, or like look at her confidence. Whoa. And I'm starting to be more attracted to like, how do I want to be? Like how do I want to present myself? What do I want to become in like 10 years? You know?
Wow.
Versus like in my early 30s, like how do I want to be in my 40s?
Yeah.
You know? I have a thing with also looking in the future a lot.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I have to reel it in and be like, what can I do now to be now in the present?
Like looking in the future in the sense of like thinking that the future is going to be better, or more like preparing, planning, getting excited for
a
like...
little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both. I have, and I wonder if it's like a millennial thing where it's like looking towards the future and working towards the future and forgetting about the present. You know, which is something that I'm like have been working on for years of being like, no, what can we do now to feel more joy and happiness and to feel more aligned and like just happy now. Instead of like, well, once I, you know, achieve this like career goal, then I'll then feel it.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's so interesting. I feel like we have so much to get into with your like experience in this like in between space. But I also really like to start these interviews like going back to the beginning of your own menstrual journey and like hearing about your first bleed. So I know, we kind of touched on that a minute before recording, but I would love to know like, what you remember both from like leading up to it and like what you knew about your body and your womb and your blood, if anything, and then how that was for you.
Yeah. Wow. It all started in middle school, and I had like one really close friend. I had friends, but my close friend at that time, Susan, we would like talk about it together and being like let's get our period. I think we were like in 7th grade, early 8th grade, and it was like all this like chatter, you know. Some people were like, if you drink more soy, you're gonna like develop breasts.
Oh my god.
You know, and so we'd be like, let's drink more soy. And it was like, it was like, if you eat more cheese, you'll get your period. And everyone started getting their period. So it was like one by one, and it was just like, I got my period. So there was talk.
Yeah, of course.
Or like, oh, did you hear so-and-so got their period? You know, so it's like, and it wasn't like a oh, they're much older, but it was like I don't know what it was. It was like an internal feeling that everyone, like every girl knew of like, whoa, once you get your period, you're different.
I love that we know that, like on a deeper level. Yeah. Because so many of the stories that like I carry on this podcast are like stories of girls being afraid of their first blood or like ashamed or embarrassed. Yeah. And I know there is often that element, but I love that there is pretty much always this undercurrent of like knowing that you're different and like almost that it is monumental even if no one told you that. Yeah,
exactly. And you know it. It's like there's centuries and centuries of like so much taboo and shame around having your period. Yeah. I mean, it goes far beyond, you know, we were like ostracized because we there's so many things. We couldn't enter churches, we couldn't do so many things. But my family, like my mother never really talked about it either. So I'm a first generation Mexican. My family, my parents immigrated to the Bay Area. Oh wow. And you know, I believe for like immigrants too, it's like you show up, you work. Yeah. You show up and you work, and that's all you do, and you work. Yeah. Where there wasn't that much time for us. So we had to figure it out on our own. And in some ways it's like, oh, I wish I had, you know, a mother to have been like, and this is what happens, and this is what you're going to become. So instead it was like our imaginations of eating more cheese and you will get your period.
Eating more cheese? What is it? What was it with the cheese?
I have no idea.
The fat maybe? Is like fat builds hormones? I'm like, I don't...
Some rumor. Some rumor in middle school. So it's eating more cheese. And I'm sure that like lasted like a week, and then we were kind of like, what's on to the next? What's
the next thing?
So trends. Trends have been around for so
cute.
long. But I remember the morning that I got it. I do. It's like, I remember the way my bedroom looked. Like it felt like really blue. It was always, the Bay Area always felt really overcast then.
Yeah.
It still is.
It is.
And I remember just like, I didn't have any symptoms. It was just very like, there's something so innocent and like, oh. I like wake up early in the morning, I go to the bathroom, and I go to pee and wipe, and I see it. And I think there was a sense of like fear, a little bit of like, it happened, oh my God, what do I do now? Like I can feel it and I don't quite explain it. And I remember, I didn't try and hide it. So I went straight to my mom.
That's sweet.
And she was lying down in bed, and I remember waking her up. She had a blue blanket over her. It's like, Mommy, I got my period.
Aww.
And she's like, oh. My mom is and she's such a sweet lady. And I think I cried a little bit because there was like a, like,
yeah, it's a lot to hold.
What's happening?
Yeah.
And then she hands me a really crappy fat pad,
Yeah, that's we all started with those.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that was 8th grade. So a really like, it felt like a tender moment.
Yeah.
Because it felt really innocent. There was no like, happened at home, which was really safe.
Yeah, that's
It wasn't like I think if it happened at school, it'd be a much scarier experience.
Yeah, mine happened at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
I've shared before, but yeah, no, it was sweet, actually. It was the cliff notes of it is, it was after volleyball practice, and I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't know it was my period because it was very brown. A lot of us, like, we start with very brown. Yeah. A girl's first week can be like that. Mm-hmm. But luckily, like, my best friend was there at the time, and she had already gotten her period, and she just totally held me through it. Oh. So I had a very sweet sisterly moment.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's actually bringing me memories of like the very first time I tried using a tampon.
Really?
So hard.
Yeah. I have had that too.
And it was much later. I think I must have been like around between sophomore and junior year. And it was like at a school camp, like in a summer camp. And it was, a friend handed it to me, and it was just so challenging. And painful.
Yeah, painful.
And I was just like, I don't know where
confusing.
To put my body. It was like, what hole?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is... And I don't think I used it for a while.
Yeah, I didn't use it. I think I used a tampon once and then not again for like years.
Yeah.
And now I don't really use them because I don't really...
Me
I just like the period underwear more.
Me too.
I'm like, let's just be comfy.
Yeah. I agree.
Let it go. Yeah.
But the one thing about period underwear is I wish I got to see the color of the blood.
I know, that is the one thing. You have to just when you wipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the one thing. Wow.
So that was the story of my first period.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was I think that's what happens with like society too, is like you start to, everyone tells you to dislike it, right? Oh, you're on your period. Oh, you're on your period. And then I remember getting on birth control.
Oh, you did?
Very young, at 16.
Because you were having sex or for symptoms?
For sex,
yeah.
But it was because Planned Parenthood would go to our high schools and
God.
They would be like, offer it like candy.
Okay, I grew up in the South, so that did not happen at my high school.
Good old Planned Parenthood.
Oh
But
my gosh.
they did that, and so at that time I had a boyfriend, and I started using it.
Wow.
And so, with all your girlfriends using the pill, then it was just like, well, prom is next week. Let's like skip our period. So it was all automatically, it had started to become this thing where it's like, what an annoying thing to have.
Yeah.
Like, let's push away from it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting... Yeah, I always think about that because I feel like with our first bleeds, like we were talking about, there is that energy of like, this is exciting. And then somewhere along the way that shifts because the trend shifts. Like the trend of how you feel about it shifts.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, if you're on it, and I still know a lot of women on it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get off of it. When I got off of it, it was fine, which was great.
That's good. When did you get off of it?
From 16 to like maybe when I was 23 or 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think towards the latter end I was like off and on
and
it.
What made you want to get off of it? Like you were just like, it's time, or?
I think it was time.
Yeah.
It was just time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was like not taking it that often.
Yeah.
But there was a period where later on, so in my late 20s, I started to gain a lot of stress. So there was a lot of stress, and I lost my period for a whole year.
Whoa.
And so that was very scary, and that made me come back to my body.
Wow.
In a way where I was like, something is wrong, where I'm not getting my period, but I'm feeling symptoms where I'm bloated, am I getting my period, you know. And it was really challenging. I was taking pregnancy tests like every month, even though I wasn't having sex.
You were just like trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I had already been through nutrition school. I was already in
the health world.
In the health world.
Yeah.
And so
when did you get into that? Like into health and wellness?
I got into health and wellness when I was 24.
Okay.
So leading up to that, there was a period of opiate usage. So I became addicted to opiates.
Whoa.
And so when that happened, and it was recreational use.
Yeah.
I became addicted to it. And so a bunch of traumatic events happened at that time. And so I got off of them. And with those traumatic events, I think my nervous system really took its toll.
Of course.
And withdrawing from OxyContin, I didn't have a bowel movement for 3 months.
Oh my God.
So I think that, you know, the withdrawal from a drug and also the trauma that the body experiences, a young woman experiences, like froze me up, you know. And in getting into like traditional Chinese medicine and a lot of shadow work and just like getting into more of the spiritual aspect of healing, which started happening at 25, then I started to be like, oh, I'm not letting go.
Whoa.
You know, I'm not letting go of these traumatic incidences. I'm not letting go of, you know, who I was, my guilt or things like that. And I'm holding it. And so that was the first time where I was like, oh, I see where my mental, emotional well-being is so attached to my physical body. And so when I lost my period in my late 20s, I was like, this is similar. This is a similar experience where I'm holding on to my period.
Interesting.
I'm not letting it go. A part of that was really spiritual. Yeah. And I was in a relationship that I didn't want to be in, too. I think my body was just like, do not get pregnant.
It's so, I have my own story with that, and a lot of women have stories with like health stuff being so intense when you're in the wrong relationship. Yeah. It's wild.
And it just like, my body was like trying to protect itself for dear goddess. It was like so intense. But I got into functional medicine then. And then it was like, let's go upstream. And then I think I just started to work things out. Yeah. But that's when I started getting into menstrual cycle syncing.
Wow.
And so that was in my early 30s.
Okay, I'm so curious, like a couple questions with that. First, when you lost your period and you weren't bleeding for a year, like looking back on that now, knowing what you know about the energetics of each phase of the cycle, like do you feel like you were in an extended follicular? Did it feel luteal? Like what did that feel like?
It felt like an extended luteal.
Whoa.
Because it was like I was feeling symptoms. I was feeling water retention and bloat. I felt like going upstairs was so hard.
Yeah.
I felt sluggish.
You probably had like a ton of liver qi stagnation.
For sure.
Yeah, especially with the like drug use past.
Yeah.
Like that definitely puts a toll on the liver.
Yeah, I was like angry, anxiety. I had food cravings. It was a hard period. That was during my Saturn return.
Oh my gosh, that was your Saturn return. We were just talking for anyone listening before we hit record that I'm in my Saturn return, and so far it's been not too intense.
Not so intense. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely felt like an extended luteal. And I think what's so interesting about the luteal phase is that it is, it's the longest phase.
Yeah.
Right?
You're in it for the longest, yeah.
You're in it for the longest, and it's a time where there's actually more clarity when you allow things to...
For sure.
If you allow discernment.
Discernment is like the gift of that phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like stay in this phase so you can really like slow down and discern what is right and what is wrong and reassess,
Wow.
So maybe in some ways there's that.
That's a really beautiful outlook. I love that. Do you feel like that was a time in your life? I mean, yeah, I guess it had to be that you were being very discerning.
Yeah, it's like where do I... And I was still fresh in my career and like health and wellness and like my relationships, because I was like, a lot of my friends were a certain way, and I was moving out of that but holding on. There was still a lot I had to process and move out.
Yeah.
That I wasn't allowing myself to because of life or fear, so an extended luteal of holding on.
I know, and it really does remind me of that liver qi stagnant archetype, because that is that like stuck holding gripping thing, and that like liver qi stagnation is like that luteal disharmony,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
And when I started learning about cycle syncing, there was a sense of ease, of like peace, of how we are so connected with like we're different women during each phase, and like we're seasons, plants, the moon. There was so much that felt so beautiful and like not so anatomical. Like this is the physiology and the science, which I love and adore so
I know, I love
much.
both too.
But there was something like a surrender of like, there's so much more than just our bleed or like our symptoms.
That's beautiful.
And I'm going to bring this back to perimenopause. Yeah. Because the luteal... In some ways, and I don't want this to sound super negative.
No.
Bless the luteal phase. But perimenopause is like the luteal phase.
Right, yeah. It's the life phase of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, where it is this extended period of we are transforming. It's a different phase. We are transforming into another being. It's a time of discernment. It's a time of being more direct. I think what's so interesting about entering perimenopause, and I will say I'm in my early perimenopausal phase, being in my early 40s as a 41-year-old, and what I'm feeling more so now is like my inner landscape changing and evolving, and that's how I feel like in my luteal phase, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get my bleed soon, so what can I do to like slow down? And I believe in perimenopause. I mean, you're given a transition, up to a 10-year.
I know, right?
Transition towards menopause.
Yeah.
So if you allow yourself to slow down, to discern, to revel in the fruits of like what you've been creating, then it can be a much easier transition. Modern day, it's a little bit harder. Like especially living in a big city, but we're like, go away. But it's just like I really feel those two. It's like the wild woman archetype of the luteal phase. It's like when you're in your 40s and you allow that, you become so much stronger. You're like, you know what you want, and your desires are different, and you can voice them.
Wow.
I think something that's really interesting is. There's a more directness in your luteal phase.
For sure.
And people tend to think of it as like, you're being a bitch. Like, but all the niceties of like, you know, in your follicular and in your ovulation, sometimes it's like, okay, I can withstand some like annoyances. I think that during your luteal phase, it's like, I can't actually, and let me create a stronger boundary for myself.
Yeah.
And people tend to see that as like you're PMSing, you know, which is so.
And people say the same thing. They're like, "Oh, she's menopausal." People say that.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you hit your 40s, and it's no longer like, "Oh, quit PMSing." It's like, "Oh, she's perimenopausal." And it's like, well, now that I'm actually able to voice what I want, like you're going to say this, like,
it's so wild.
You know, it changes,
Yeah.
and it feels vulgar, right? Where it's like, why can't I change and shift and speak my mind? And I think what happens too is people do become more afraid of you.
Yeah.
Because you know what you want, because you're more direct, because...
Yeah. You've got a handle on your power in a different way.
Exactly. And, you know, even people who might be like, you know, like stand in your power. I think when you finally do, people are like,
what? No, don't do that. Not that much.
Yeah, people get afraid.
Wow.
But, and I think what ends up happening in your 40s, and I'm starting to feel it myself, it's like, it's not that it's not caring as much, it's like there's no time, or things just don't sit in the body as well. So like disturbances or annoyances, or like even relationships, if they lose their fire, or like whether that's friendships or lovers, it's sort of just like, well, I need to keep going, and I want to keep going. Like I can't allow anything to really settle into my body anymore. It's like the body rejects things in a way.
Like you just can't.
Yeah, it's like I'm not dealing with that. I've got to go. No. You know.
Wow.
And I think that's something that's developed. You know, and you learn to do it because it's not the easiest initially. You know, I think in your 30s there is like but I want to hold on to this friendship, or like, I want to be well liked.
Yeah.
And then there becomes a time where it's like, I really have to focus on myself. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this phase of life is like, maybe ushering you into. I know at the beginning you were like, I don't know if you said this when we were recording or before, but you said something like, I'm sort of in an in-between, and I'm not exactly sure where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be many of you who are in this space, or might get into this space too, where it's, and we were talking about, it's like the sign of the times, where it's like, we're so intergenerational too. We have friends who are like younger and who are older, and I think being a younger 40, being 41, not married. I have a partner, but we're not married, and we're choosing not to get married. Not having a child. So still feeling like, I need to be youthful, and I need to go out and do whatever the city explores. Like, the city offers me, and like, be alive.
Yeah.
So feeling like in that limbo of like, I'm still young, you know, which, you know, 41 is really young.
It is young, but you're not in your maidenhood.
I'm not in my maidenhood.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I'm not in a motherhood where I've mothered a child.
Yeah.
And that's like the literal aspect of it. But then I'm not quite in like, you know, to the point where I'm like, I need HRT right now. Like my cycles, like I'm overflowing with blood, or I'm missing my period for months on end. So I'm in this limbo of like, who am I? You know, what am I about to approach? But at the same time, there are things that are changing. So, and then it's sort of like, is this PMS or is this early perimenopause? So not only are things changing in my inner physical body, but outside. And so it feels like I'm like, whoa, like
what is changing?
around.
Like, I'm curious, maybe people are listening.
Yeah.
Like, what's normal? Like, what am I, to relate to you?
Yeah. So it's something that, well, and one thing I do want to share is when I was so I've been teaching menstrual cycling for a long time.
Yeah.
Like throughout my 30s.
Wow.
And at the end of my 30s, I was like, I can't wait till I hit 40. I'm going to learn about perimenopause. And I was like, getting so into it.
Yeah.
And like, getting all like the Susan Weed's books and just reading so much. And naturally really fascinated by the transition of perimenopause physically and like what happens emotionally, mentally. And so when I hit 40, I started getting hot flashes instantly. And I shared with this to you the first time we spoke on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I felt like I manifested this.
Oh, yeah, you
like,
did tell me that.
All of a sudden I started getting hot flashes at night, and I would wake up in the sweat, and I was like, and like I couldn't sleep. So I had insomnia, and I had hot flashes. And that happened like the second I turned 40.
Whoa.
And I still do have friends who are now menopausal, but they had been experiencing those symptoms.
Wow.
So it was almost like I called in their spirit, or they were like, let me teach you a lesson. But they were going through so much pain and suffering with that. Like, not sleeping is... I mean, they say, you might as well be driving drunk. Like, it's so hard. That's where we rebuild our tissue. That's where we rejuvenate, regenerate. Our liver's working. So much of us is going through a recovery during that time while we sleep. So I got really freaked out, and I was like, no, this isn't happening. So luckily, with my knowledge and my skill set, I was like, okay, I'm going to take glycine, and that's really helpful for hot flashes and for sleep. And red raspberry, red clover. And I started taking those, and after 3 months, they were gone.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And in some ways, I was like, it's so interesting. In some ways, I was like, I'm not going to go through perimenopause. Like, I'm not going to allow myself. I have all the tools. That has since like diminished a bit. I'm like, whatever happens. Like, let me. If it comes, it comes, because it will in some form or another. So those were like my main things that happened earlier on. What's been happening now is more brain health, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that.
And as we get older, women are more susceptible to like dementia, Alzheimer's, anxiety also. So I did start having more anxiety bouts where it's just like waking up early in the morning of like, what do I have to do? What am I doing? What am I doing with life? I think what happens I think something that happens in your 40s too, it's like a reassessment, right? Your luteal phase of just like, let me reassess, or what's going right and what's kind of like going wrong. And that's really like winter and your menstrual phase also. So there was a lot of that happening of like, am I doing this right? Am I living life? And like, how can I support the collective? But I really need to support myself, just feeling like underwater. And so there was a lot more anxiety that was happening. And and milky oats has been such a beautiful, so many of the herbal plants.
I just recommended milky oats to my client in perimenopause.
Yes, linden, milky oats, burdock root for grounding, and it's all just felt really supportive.
Wow.
But a lot more brain blips is what I call it. So forgetting people's names. And so something that is really prevalent is, you can't remember things. So memory loss is huge.
Wow.
Forgetting names. Like last week I was at a friend's party, and there was their child and the father was there, and I was like, what's the kid's father's name? I could not remember either of their names. And I had a friend being like, oh, that's him. And it was just like, gosh, am acting like cuckoo, it's like I'm losing it.
Does that freak you out when that happens? Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So names are a big one that I've been losing.
Yeah.
There was a few days last week also, and this is a follicular phase. Last week when I was in it, my skin care routine that I've been doing for ages. I was like, do I usually put on my SPF after my oil or before? Like things where I'm like, why can't I remember this?
Wow.
And so it is troubling, you know, we're like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me think of like, well, am I just having too much on my mind? Is this perimenopause? You know, and so I know things like ginkgo biloba is really helpful for memory. Rosemary, I've been drinking a lot more for memory and like for cognitive health. So really focusing on like herbal support and allies to help me through it. One thing that I truly believe too is, I mean, we do live in a completely different place.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many forces all around us that like make our life a little bit harder, like politically, you know, just like where we are in other people's energies and what they're going through. And so, and I mean, this is like any phase in life is really like, how can we really focus on just like our solitude and our inner peace? And I've been finding, and I love this, and that it's like before where it was like, I want to manifest like achievement or money or like love. Now it's like manifesting peace. It really is like, I just want peace, and working towards that goal of like, what can I, and again, this is like, instead of looking in the future of like, how do I want to be when I'm 50? It's like, what can I do to have a peaceful day?
Wow.
You know, and so one of the important things that I loved about menstrual cycling was like having everyone's eyes light up. I was like, what? This is what's happening in my cycle?
I know. I love that too.
Why doesn't anyone teach this?
Yeah.
You know, and just like allowing people to like go through their own journey because they're bringing in all the elements of like the seasons and eating for your cycle and herbs and all this stuff. And, you know, as I was, you know, when I started my late 30s and I was like getting into perimenopause, I was like, oh my God, all of these like perimenopausal women have no idea about the cycle syncing and like how important it is to like have this foundation of what your menstrual cycle is like going into perimenopause, so that even though they might have these like brain blips, you know, they might be like, that could be perimenopausal, but let me see what I can do to support my whole cycle and my whole well-being, you know.
And to also have that context for like the phase of discernment of life, because they know that phase in their cycle. Like that feels really big too.
Yeah. And it's just being more aware, right? There's just more information that you can pull from than being like, oh, my brain's going out. Oh, it's probably because, I don't know, I had a glass of wine last night. Yeah. Or it's just like, did you have it last week though too? It's just becoming more present with your body. Yeah. And that's definitely, I've been hosting gatherings every full moon called Women on the Verge.
I love
this. And I've been doing it with my friend, my co-partner, Elena White. She's a therapist, and she's postmenopausal, so I've seen her go through perimenopause and it was a lot of like anxiety, dissociation, and it was really heavy for her. Yeah. You know, and I think that with her experience there, and then me speaking towards like the earlier stages and like how to support with nutrition and herbalism and just, you know, living more holistically, we're like, we need to create gatherings for women to be able to share resources, share their experiences, and not feel so alone.
I think that's such a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what the menstrual cycle awareness in general gives a lot of women, is like the amount of times I've told a woman about the phases of her cycle, and then she like puts together the luteal and is like, oh, so there's nothing wrong with me? Yes. It's like, there's nothing wrong with you.
No. Hormones do amazing and crazy things.
Yeah.
It's such a wild journey that no male will ever understand.
It's so deep. It's like, but I also can't imagine life without it, because for me, like, riding those waves like is the life that is my life, and like it gives me like a direction and purpose and like you know, fluidity, and I couldn't imagine having to like try to create that on my own without the cycle. And even through the phases of life, like not just our mini menstrual cycle, but like our overall life cycle. Like I've heard that from women. I've had a few women on the podcast who are perimenopausal, menopausal, one postmenopausal. And it's that like energy of a long luteal phase almost. And without someone that, I mean, the last thing I'll say on this, then I want to keep hearing about your gatherings, is like the amount of times I've held circles and realized, oh wow, women really just need to talk and be heard. And like I think women in that phase of life don't have as much opportunities to do that as women in other phases of life do.
For sure. And to be amongst other, you know, well, it's so isolating. You know, if you start to develop symptoms, you might feel like something is wrong with you, right? But when you start to hear more stories about it, then you're like, okay, so this is happening to other women. And like, you know, sharing notes, like, oh, well, what are you doing to support it? And just feeling not alone during it. Because even if you have a partner from the other sex, like if you have a male partner, they're not gonna get it.
They don't get it,
They just, what's happening inside, sometimes it's just indescribable, because it might feel one way one week, and the next week you're like, what's up, everybody? You know? And it is a bit of a roller coaster, and that is what I'm feeling now. Where it is like moments of like growth, and then moments of like contraction, being like, I don't know how I feel, you know? So being amongst other women has been really helpful. One of our like a big one was like, I believe like two months ago, and it was on anger. And I felt so deeply about this one, because it's like we have so much to be angry about this day and age, for sure, with like war, with, you know, our political system, with how we've been treated at work, just like there's so many things. And to be able to share it, because there is also like, we're supposed to hide it, you know, or it's like, keep it to yourself, but it's like, how do you release it? You know, how do we transform it into something positive? And that is a symptom also. It's like irritability.
It is a symptom. It's a liver symptom too. And if we're to think of like perimenopause and menopause as very similar to the luteal phase, it's like, okay, you've got to support your liver to clear what needs to be cleared, and part of that is the anger. And it's like anger that's been around for a while, you know? And so it's really cool to think about it in terms of like, oh, we're just in this massive clearing of just like purging years and years of when we first got our period. You know? And I think that during this transition, this 40 plus, and it can be as early as 35, if we allow ourselves to slow down, we're working things out. You know? Someone had shared with me yesterday, and I don't have any statistics or anything, but it's sort of like it starts to clear things. So, and she made the positive about the brain blips. She was like, oh, well, it might be because like your brain is clearing out to make room for more. Wow. You know what that reminds me of is, I don't think I told you this, but I had someone on my podcast last season, Rebecca. She's a herbalist as well and a midwife. She's wonderful. And she talked about when she started getting hot flashes. And she said that an elder in her community said to her something like, oh, well, the hot flashes are a gift. It's like how contractions in birth are getting you closer to your baby. The hot flashes are allowing the clearing to get you closer to your destination. I was like, whoa.
So in some ways, instead of like, and sure, they're uncomfortable, but they're not going to last forever. You know, so if we can like see the symptoms for like, and of course there's like a bit of like, well, maybe I'm having too much wine and like spicy food, But if we can really kind of look into them from like a spiritual, energetic level, it's like there's something a lot more calming about it.
Yeah.
And I think that what ends up happening with that acceptance is we're adapting to our new self, and we're calming our own nervous system. And I'm actually moving more towards like energy healing work, like becoming Reiki attuned, because I do believe that so many women, like so many of my clients, and now so many of the women from Women on the Verge, everyone's tired. Everyone feels frazzled and like on guard.
Yeah.
So how can we support symptoms to naturally arise, but also to be in a place of more ease?
Yeah.
You know, and peace. And when that happens, you are able to accept more information, or more like things seem less scary, because you're like, oh, okay, well, this is just for now.
Wow.
You know, and so calling in all the healers to like activate their powers, you know. It's such an interesting time. One topic that has been huge with Women on the Verge too is like friendships changing and not becoming mothers.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit going back to like being in the limbo of like in the interim of no longer maiden, not quite a mother, but I'm not the elder.
Yeah.
Not quite the wise woman yet.
Not yet.
You know, being a little bit in this like, I see all you and I have pieces, but where am I? You know, and something about not having, you know, being married or having a child feels a little bit confusing though too. And so, you know, and I think that everyone's going to have a different perimenopausal journey and story, and mothers are going to have it's different than women who haven't had children. And there is like a bit of sadness of not being able to birth an actual child. And so I've been with my partner for 8 years.
Wow.
And he cannot have children because he had cancer as a young child.
Whoa.
So
that's so intense.
Yeah. And so it's I've never been like, my goal is to have a child.
Yeah.
But when I did hit 40, I was like, well, I'm approaching the ages of not going to be able to have one. You know, like so there is like a bit of a longing for like, well, I think I might want one later. But also being like, well, what can we do? And I know there's other ways to have children.
Yeah.
But I'm so traditional. Like, I don't know.
You're like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. You know.
Wow, what an interesting space to be in, with like having that bit of desire and longing, but like the person that you love can't do that.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely like a bit of like, and there is a fear of like, well, I'm not ready to have a child, you know, but because I still feel like my mentals are still a little bit like, but I'm in my 30s, you know. And it's like, no, that's not true, Lyssandra. Like, you're getting older. And I think that's something that happens when you are a childless, is that there is a more of a mothering towards, like, still so much nurturing for other people, you know, for friendships, there's so much compassion that there might be an overextension of doing that, because there's like a little bit of I don't have this baby to give all my love to, so I'm giving it to everybody. Wow. And I think that this is, at least for me, there's like a sense of like, well, if I don't have a child, then we must keep on birthing projects. And it becomes this thing of like, well, who else am I doing this life for then? If I don't have a child to like work for, let me just continuously work. Whoa. And I think that that's something that I personally need to break. And I think that it happens a lot to women in their 40s too. There is like your career begins to peak.
Yeah.
But we almost need to like create such a good balance, because I don't know, like that's all really important. Yeah. But when are we overextending ourselves to the point of depletion?
Yeah.
You know, and I think about it a lot. It's like, well, we don't have kids, so let's open up another business, you know? And it's like what? What's, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, it's a strange feeling. So, and I know that like, and I've seen it with other like clients before, it's like overworking is just creating so much depletion in their system. And as you know, with like traditional Chinese medicine, it's just like, it depletes.
Yeah, overwork taxes the spleen and the liver.
Yeah. So it's like, how can we not go there? Because it will make perimenopausal symptoms more intense and make us more disconnected to our body.
Yeah, that's so interesting. There's so many things you said that I want to touch on. One was like just talking about how women in this phase are tired. And it's so funny because you hadn't said that before when I thought this, but when you were talking about like it being this extended luteal phase and there's all this releasing and discernment and redirection, I'm like, that sounds like a lot. Yeah. And so I'm like, wow, that, of course people are tired. Of course there's like lethargy and fatigue. It's like you are doing so much mentally, physically, spiritually in this phase of life for like 10 years. Yeah. Like that's, or more. Yeah. It's like, that's so deep. Yeah. I'm like, of course you're tired. And it reminds me too, I love these parallels of like phases of life to phases of the cycle, because we do have that, right? It's like follicular is your inner spring, and it's also the maidenhood phase of life. And then ovulation is inner summer, and it's the mothering phase of life. And then that like luteal inner autumn, and that like perimenopausal, menopausal, sorceress, wild woman phase of life, and onto the crone and menstruation and winter. But what I'm thinking about too is like the luteal phase is a time when it's time to, and you even said this earlier, like take stock of what you've accomplished and like begin to prepare to rest. Yeah. And so it's interesting that because you felt like, oh, most people dedicated their mothering summer ovulatory energy to children, and I chose to dedicate that to other things in my life, that somehow you need to just keep going and not look back and find that like, whoa, the harvest, like I'm harvesting what I've worked for and what I've like devoted my creativity and life force to.
Yeah. And I think that, and you said that so beautifully, and I think that what ends up happening there, you see how there's that conflict? Yeah. And it almost seems like a contradictory of like, oh, it's your luteal, it's a time to discern, it's a time to like take stock. Yeah. But then there's the, wait, no, let me keep going.
Yeah. And I do it in my luteal all the time.
Exactly. You know, and I think that is, I mean, and that's like old tradition with modern society. We're so trained to keep going.
We are.
You know, oh, you have cramps? Go work out anyway, you know?
It's wild.
And so that's like something where it's like, it's important for us to detrain that. Yeah. Like, and slowly it happens, you know, like just like take a step back. You don't have to do it. What are you doing? You know, and I think about it a lot with the full moon stuff. So, and today is so great because we're in the full moon.
Yeah, we're recording on the full moon.
And a lot of it is like the full moon is, you know, about releasing. And I've become to start to release really like concrete things of like I'm releasing the need, and you know, well, let me say this over again. When we think that habits, like healthy habits, are good, but they're not that good for us.
Like what?
Well, in my head, it's sort of like, you know, exercise is a huge one. Yeah. You know, where it's sort of like keep exercising, and you're gonna feel like it's important for you, and we know this, you know. And when it's so vital to like create a healthy habit of it, you know. And as you get older, you lose like 10% of bone density and muscle mass, and like it's really vital in your 40s to like exercise to keep that strength. But when do you keep doing it to the point of like it's not healthy anymore? Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go for a run even though I'm really tired. And in your luteal phase, this happens a lot, right? It's sort of like your body is waning. your strength decreases.
Yeah.
But we still want to be exactly how we were in our ovulation phase.
Gosh, and it's so hard to be in a culture, a society where it's like
keep going.
Routines, do your same thing every day.
Do your 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I physically can't.
It's not the same in every day at all.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
And that's something that was really huge in teaching menstrual cycling and even in perimenopause. Like, if your body is asking for more rest, lay on the couch, rest, because your workouts are going to be so much better afterwards.
Yeah.
And one thing that a lot of women go through, and like, it is weight gain, you know, and there is such a sense of like shame and guilt around like, I want to lose weight. And there shouldn't be. If if that's what you want, that's important.
Everyone's allowed to have their goals. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, you know, in your 40s, your metabolism does slow down. Yeah. And I think that what happens is like we want to keep on pushing and pushing, lose calories, stop eating. People become undernourished because they want to lose the weight that they've been gaining.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and that is a scary thing when your body is no longer what it once looked like.
Yeah.
You know, and learning to adapt to that and learn to love and accept a changing body, I think is really beautiful and, you know, challenging.
Yeah.
You know, but it's also like, don't push the boulder up the hill. Like, if you are tired, then like rest.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, all that to say is like, I don't know, it's like really honoring yourself. And that's hard in this modern day.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It's hard because we have to snap out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and being like, and I think that takes me back to the full moon release of like, I'm releasing, no longer having these like habits of like, I need to go to the gym every morning before work. You know, whether that, I mean, that sounds like a great habit if someone's like, you know, you work out every day? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, but I'm really tired. It's like, it's not serving you then.
I've had to actually work on that myself, where like I was never a big gym girl. I was always a yoga girl, and now I'm in a bit more of a gym, like weightlifting phase, because I know it's important for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing that, and I had this whole schedule where I was like, 4 days a week I'm going to the gym at 7 a.m. before I start working. And so I like wake up, eat some breakfast quickly, go to the gym. And I did it for probably like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I took a break when I was bleeding, of course. And then eventually I was like, some days this isn't right. Like some days I want to sleep, and maybe I'll go to the gym at 4 p.m. instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like routine, it's not whatever. But like, and I've had this realization too. It's like, if I think about priorities for my health, sleep is a way more higher priority than the gym.
Yeah.
Like, sleep is the number one thing we all can be doing for our health. And so if you get poor sleep, don't wake up and go to the gym.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah. And that's such a, it's retraining ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? To also
honor yourself. Yeah.
And listen to our bodies.
Yeah.
And so when we can think of it like that, instead of like, this is what I should be doing, then it's going to be better for you.
Yeah.
You know, even though like, you're going to start to lose bone density and muscle mass in your 40s. If you need more sleep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like that hierarchy of like knowing what to prioritize.
Yeah.
And because it can feel exhausting to be like, I have to work out, I have to sleep well, I have to eat well. And it's like, okay, which piece can you focus on first?
Yeah.
And then like slowly add in the others, because you can't consistently work out if you're not sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. And I think those little changes, even though they might feel hard, because I know they were hard for me. Yeah. I've been like a gym rat girl since I was 18.
Really?
Yeah. Those little things where it's like, no, I'm not gonna do that today. Or like waking up thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym. But instead, actually, I'm just gonna go for a walk.
Yeah.
It sounds so like simple,
but it's retraining your mind.
It's retraining your mind, and it actually afterwards, it is a huge pat on the back.
It is,
because it's like, I'm listening. I'm finally listening to myself.
And that's what it is. I think that's what like the menstrual cycle awareness and also like life phase awareness brings us to, is like that deep listening, and not just like creating a rigid structure that doesn't actually support our body.
Or listening to other people.
Or listening to, that's such a good point.
Yeah. like, I mean, social media is just the biggest one.
Yeah, there's so many opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like strength train like 3 or 4 times a week, you know. If you've been overworked and depleted, it's not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So it's like really learning to pay attention to yourself and your needs. And that's, I mean, and I feel like that's health to me, is like listening to what you really need. And we were never taught to listen. Yeah. Really.
Well, it's, because it starts when we're young and we get our first bleed. We're not taught to know how to relate to that and how to be in our cycle. And so then women get to perimenopause, and it's been 40 years of that. And it's like, oh, well now what? Now how do I do this?
Yeah. And it makes me so happy that like we're just creating, I mean, it's being developed now, a whole generation of like perimenopause is being spoken about. Yeah. So much more. Yeah. And there's so much advocacy for it. There's so many strong women talking about it, hosting gatherings or like talks, and it's becoming a lot less like scary. Yeah. And a lot less just like inaccessible. You know, and then that's so important, along with menstrual cycle syncing. Yeah. And there's both of those are just such beautiful phases of life. Yeah. And so different.
So different. You know, have you heard that quote that it's I can't remember where it comes from, but it's like at menarche, the first period, a girl meets her power. Throughout all her cycling years, she practices her power, and then at menopause, she transcends her cycle and she becomes her power. Yes. And I just love that, because it's like, oh yeah, like you're practicing all these years with the constant death and rebirth, and then eventually you get to the point where you don't need that anymore, and you can just embody your full self. Yes. And it's like, whoa, like if we think of it like that, how much more magical does the hot flashes and the not cycling and the discernment, like it becomes like, oh, this was preparing me for something really beautiful. And it almost becomes, instead of like an end of your life, it's like the beginning of your life.
Totally. I 1000% agree with that. Yeah. But and this is why I feel like it's so vital to learn about your menstrual cycle and like how that segues, like relating it to the seasons and the archetypes and how that segues into perimenopause, because that will slow you down. You know, I mean, I know I don't want to, and I've heard it from friends before, where it's like, I didn't know about any of this. It, like friends who are post-menopausal. Yeah. And it's like, I didn't know any of this, and I wish I had. Because there's so many gifts. I know. And so many treasures within everything. Yeah. That, I mean, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and you can open yourself up to so much magic in between. Yeah. If you know it. So I would never want to, like, not want to know.
I know.
I would never, like, I don't want to look back being like, and then all of a sudden I just stopped bleeding, or like oh my god.
I know. Yeah, so it's fascinating to think about like people's different experiences, and I feel like, you know, when I think about this podcast, my like hope and prayer is that this is the way that more and more women get to hear about the magic of the cycle, and that's why I've been trying to have more women come on to speak about what happens when you get towards not cycling anymore. And that perimenopausal time, because, and I think with your circles it's like this too, it's like, how can we just keep spreading these seeds? Because if you and I touch 5 people and they touch 5 more people with this knowledge and this wisdom, it's like, whoa, what kind of world are we creating? Like a pretty magical one.
We change the collective. I mean, everyone starts to change the collective. It is quite beautiful. And I love how like you can relate anything back to like the menstrual cycle and like our seasons. Anything. I talk about it a lot. It's like an apple. Like, you know, like how, like a meal, like how I can connect that to like cycle syncing and like the seasons and like where we're at in our phase in life. Like it's so creative.
It's a totally different lens to look at the world with. And I have to say, like, I learned this probably when I was like 21 is when I started getting into this type of work, and like mostly for myself first before I started sharing. But it was like, oh wow, I see the entire world through this lens now. It's like my main lens.
And it makes everything so beautiful.
It does.
Oh my God. Everything. Like going on walks and just like the curiosity that, you know, of plants and just like nature. It's sort of, it always comes back to cyclical living.
Yes.
It's art. It's art.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, Lyssandra, this is such a beautiful conversation. I want to ask you one last question, but is there anything else you want to say about like your On the Verge events, or I mean, I'll get to that in a minute of kind of asking you to share your offerings, but about just this phase of life in general. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
I'm looking forward to it because it feels like, you know, and it feels like there's a seed.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time where something is emerging and I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And it almost feels follicular, which is funny. But it is like something inside me is changing for sure. And I feel it in the way that I walk the walk, you know, in life.
Yeah.
But there's something seeding, and I think that it's really powerful. And I don't know what it looks like. And instead of like wanting to, and this is I think really like 30s, it's like wanting to know what it looks like and wanting to like make it happen in a certain look. It's just really rewarding to feel like I'm surrendering to the unknown, and I'm excited to see what the seed looks like. And yeah, that's how I feel. I'm like thinking like another perimenopausal woman might be like, girl, you have no idea what's about to happen. But I'm so open, and
I love that.
Yeah, and to seeing how it grows or how I grow. Yeah.
I love that. I just feel like you're in this space of surrender, which feels very applicable to the cycle lens we've been talking about. It's like just open to the magic of what this new phase has to hold for you, and like what kind of woman you're going to become as a result of it. Yeah. I have to say, I have this dream, one day it'll come true, that I want to like commission an artist to draw all of my different cycle phase archetypes, like all the women I am in each phase. And it reminds me of what you said, because it's like we just keep becoming different women, and they're all us. Yeah. Totally. So interesting.
And there's going to be like at least 2 or 3 different women per phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I would love, that would be so great to even like early perimenopause, mid perimenopause, like menopause.
That would be so cool.
Like what does that look like?
Yeah.
You know,
it's a good exercise to think about. Making art with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you one last question, then I'll give you an opportunity to share where people can find you. But I love to ask women to just share one piece of womb wisdom. And it's always funny because I'm like, you've already shared so much. But if there's like one little tidbit that you want to leave the women listening with, what might that be?
I feel like there's so much. Just love. Lead with your heart. Like, speak to your heart all the time. Like, what is it that your heart needs? What is it asking of you? And oftentimes it's going to be nature, but
yes,
you know. And I just think like leading with your heart and really speaking to it, because it really is like the frequency that like can bring connection to so many people and magnetize your desires. There's just like, what can we do to support our heart at all times? Because that is like, I mean, it's like the womb, heart, mind, but it's like when we can speak from our heart, then it's like, I feel like the rest really just leads, you know, everything is connected that way. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, on my walk earlier today, I was just like, I just want to just lead with love. Everything I just want to have, like every passion that I have, just move through it from a heart-centered space.
Yeah.
And then it's really authentic. Mm-hmm. Then it's real. Then the fruits will come, or things will get out of the way. It's just like what doesn't serve doesn't belong. But if we lead here, it's just so full of passion and magnetism and power.
That was good. I needed to hear that today, so thank you for that. I'm sure if I needed it, lots of other women are gonna need it too. Oh, this has been so sweet. I have absolutely just adored doing this in-person interview with you, and hearing about your own stories, and also very inspired by the way you're intentionally moving through your phase of life. That is, I think it's just inspiring for a lot of us to hear.
Thank you.
And there's a ton of listeners. My audience, I would say, is mostly 30s and 40s, so you're definitely speaking to the right group. And giving them inspiration for what's possible. And I would love for you to share where people can find you and what you're offering. I know most of it's in person. I definitely have a lot of viewers in SoCal though, so
amazing. Well, I do one-on-one coaching, and that is virtually and in person here in Los Angeles, where we speak nutrition, herbalism, women's health, also giving Reiki attunements. But I host Women on the Verge, 40 Plus Club gathering. Every full moon, we explore different topics such as anger and rage, friendships changing, sex and pleasure, bringing in guest speakers at time. And really, it's a free gathering. It's a community gathering. And we gather and we eat snacks and we just share resources. So if you want to be involved in that, it's a great, beautiful, growing community. It's happening at my studio in Echo Park. I'm sure there'll be a link to it. And I'm also offering a 2-part series called In Her Season, and I'll be offering this quarterly. So we explore the phases of your cycle, and we talk about the science, the archetypes, how to eat for your cycle, which plants to consume for your cycle. We also do medicine making so that you have medicine for each phase of your cycle. And it's just a beautiful way to really start to understand what's happening, but also apply it to your own cycle so that you are more connected to it. And that's what I have for now.
Amazing offerings.
Yeah, more to come. I'm always hosting workshops or talks around town, and they're forever changing because I love many things.
I love that. And I'll link either your Instagram or website, whatever
Perfect.
You feel is best in the show notes for everyone. But
thank you.
Wow, this was so amazing. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah. Anytime.
Oh, I on this recording. Thank you for tuning in to the Wisdom of the Womb today. It's truly such an honor to bring these stories and teachings forward to you, and it would mean so much to me if you'd rate and review this podcast so that it can reach more women. If you're looking for deeper support, you can always find the link to join our online community, the Cyclical Living Circle with the Best Women in the World, in the show notes, and you'll also find the links to book one-on-one virtual sessions for your specific needs, as well as any workshops or courses I'm currently offering. Plus, you can follow me on Instagram, and I love to connect with you all there. All right, see you next week.